All right, TX22, 5 more rounds. And then the Glock 44, 5 more rounds. Two very cool handguns.
Hey guys, what's up? It's B coming from GNA today. So today I'm going to compare these two 22 LR handguns. So I've got the Taurus TX22 and I've got the brand new Glock 44. Today is January 25th, 2020. The Glock 44 was released earlier this week on the 20th, and the Taurus TX22 has been out for about a year now. Okay, the way I like to do my comparison videos versus videos like this is I like to give a list of where I think the TX22 is better, then I'll give a list of where the Glock 44 is better, and then I'll just talk about the stuff that basically they have that are the same. Okay, so first of all, of course, I've safety checked everything. Everything is completely clear. Okay, so for accuracy, I can shoot both of these about as accurately as the other. I feel like maybe the TX22 has a slight edge for me just because the trigger's better, but there's really not going to be much of a difference at all. So I shot groups off of a sandbag about 8 yards, and I'm going to speed up the footage. So I didn't shoot the groups this fast, but that way you don't have to sit through the whole time of me sitting there waiting. Here's a group from the G44. Here's the group from the TX22. Okay, the other very important thing, obviously, between comparing two guns is like the durability, the reliability, which I guess really are two different things. But okay, so as far as durability, to me, in my mind, that means like how it's going to last years and years down the road. And as far as that's concerned, I don't see that either one's really going to have an edge. I mean, they have a polymer frame. Of course, the polymer slide here may cause issues. Who knows? Now, as far as reliability, and to me, in my mind, that means like whenever you're in the middle of shooting, how does it handle different types of ammo? Okay, on the TX22, whenever I first had it and I shot it, I did have some hiccups, some feeding issues and stuff like that in the first few hundred rounds. And then once I kind of got past that, this thing has been very reliable. Now, of course, both of these are shooting 22, so you're going to have ammo issues from time to time. But for me, the TX22 has been very, very reliable and been very good. And occasionally, ammo causes problems. Occasionally, it's something I feel like maybe happens with a handgun, but it's very rare. So to me, I would consider the TX22 to be very reliable. If I was, out shooting and I wanted to bring a reliable 22, the TX22 is something that I would definitely bring. Okay, the Glock 44 doesn't have as much of a track record, although the TX22 only has a year-long track record, so that's not great, but still is pretty good. A lot of people really like their TX22, and a lot of people say it's very reliable. The Glock 44, so it's only been out for a little while, but I've seen reports on both sides of this. I've seen people who've said they've had it's been incredible, no problems whatsoever, and then I've seen people who've had terrible problems with it, like 22 Plinkster, and I've seen more than just him, I've seen other people who have had issues. Okay, I have had some issues. It hasn't been crazy problems, but I have had some issues. And at this point now, I'm up to probably about 900 rounds or so, maybe up to 1,000 rounds in the G44, and it still has those issues occasionally.
Alrighty. Still got some rounds in there. And that was a spent case, just did not eject it. It's not locking back.
Now, one thing on the G44 is in the manual, it tells you all these places that you should put oil and to do that. And when I first went out, I hadn't done that. The second time I went out, I did do this, and I don't know, it ran a little bit better, so that may be something to do with it running a little bit better. Okay, here's another thing that I think is important on the Glock 44. So it says it's made or designed to work with a variety of 22 LR ammo that's made to these specs, but they do recognize that some offerings may not produce sufficient energy to fully cycle the slide, and so they say here recommended that you fire several fully loaded magazines using your preferred ammunition to ensure optimum performance. So what Glock is saying here is they're saying we recognize that there's some ammo that probably is not going to work as well, that's not going to cycle the slide. And so they recognize that. They're not saying in here that the Glock 44 is going to work with every type of ammo. They're saying right here they know that there may be issues with some type of ammo. But with the right kind of ammo, I ran through many mags where it just ran perfectly. And there's plenty of types of ammo that worked just fine. So as far as reliability, I think I'm going to have to give a slight edge to the TX22. All right, and this is in no particular order. I'm going to start off with the TX22. But one thing I like better about the TX22 is the trigger. It just has a very good trigger. So on the TX22, you got a little bit of, well, first of all, there's a trigger safety. You don't see it. It's basically taking up the slack from here to here, and then that disengages the safety on the trigger, and then you have a little bit of mush to pull through, but then a very clean break right there, and then reset is right there, then back to break. You can see how short, once you get back and it breaks and then go back to reset to break, it's a very short distance, and a very nice trigger. On the Glock, it's just like any Glock 19, Glock 17, whatever, same thing. So you got the little blade safety right there. You got to pull it back. You have a little bit of mush to get through, of course. Get to a pretty hard wall. Then you pull back through that wall. And it breaks pretty cleanly. There's a little bit of creep in it. There's the reset. Back to break. And I'm just going to weigh the triggers real quick. A little over 4 pounds. A little over 6 pounds. Or actually close to 7 pounds. Very similar. So it's the same pretty much all the way across the board. TX22, let me weigh it one more time. A little under 4 pounds. So about a 4-pound trigger and about a 6.5 pound trigger. Another area definitely where the TX22 wins is just by mag capacity. Standard mag on the TX22 is 16 rounds in the mag, and on the Glock 44, the G44, it has a 10 round standard capacity. Hopefully that's going to get increased at some point, but as of right now, 10 rounds is the total mag capacity. All right, the TX22 is better also because the mags are a lot easier to disassemble. So on the TX22, push down on that little thing, then boom, and then it comes out ready to go. There's no learning curve. There's nothing to it. It's as easy as it gets. The Glock mag takes a lot more effort because not only do you have to push this down, but you also have to overcome these little tabs right here. I've got a video on disassembling this thing. It's a lot more difficult to take this apart than it is for this. Okay, for the TX22, it's better for me because I just definitely prefer the ergonomics of the TX22. It's just, you can see here how there's actually, how it kind of swells out here. It goes in narrower here. It just scoops in here. It curves around back here. And to me, it just fits my hand perfectly. Just the ergonomics of this are just very good. On the Glock, it's fine. There's no problem with it. It's just like it's just a block here, basically. And, I mean, it's fine. I can shoot just fine with it. And then speaking of that, the texture on the TX22 is I like it a little bit better. It's about the perfect amount of grippiness for me. It's not too light. It's not too much. On the Glock, of course, it's got the pyramids. And they're definitely very grippy, so very good, but I still prefer the TX22s a little bit. Okay, the TX22 is better for me because the standard models come with a threaded barrel. The Glock 44 standard does not come with a threaded barrel. Glock has an option where you can order a threaded barrel from their website for $155. And I have a 22 suppressor, and shooting 22 suppressed is just loads of fun. And so TX22 absolutely wins for that. Okay, another area that's obvious is that the TX22 is just cheaper. You can get the TX22 for $250, and they go on sale sometimes, seeing them as down as low as getting down to $215, $220, and then they ran that rebate last year where you got $50 off and people were buying for less than $200. But standard, you can buy them probably $225 to $250. Where the Glock is, but of course it's brand new, so the prices may come down a little bit, but right now you're looking at $375 to $400 or so. So it's a good $125 to $150 cheaper for the TX22. Okay, another area where the TX22 is better, but there'll be more I'll say about this for sure on the G44 side, but the slide on the TX22 is a full metal slide. Now it's aluminum, but it is a full metal slide. Okay, on the G44, the weird thing about it is the slide. Okay, so this little stripe you see down here is actually metal, but then the top part right here where the actual serrations are, that is polymer. And so for that, the TX22 wins out because it's got a fully metal slide. All right, another thing on the TX22 is that you can get models that have safeties like this, and you get models that do not have safeties. On the Glock, of course, you're just gonna not have a safety. All right, so now I'm going to talk about things that I like better about the G44. So let's go ahead and jump back and talk about this slide. So on the TX22, I said I like the slide better because it's fully metal. But what needs to be said about that on the G44 is that the metal part of this slide is steel, though. It's steel, where this is aluminum. This magnet sticks to the metal on the G44. It does not stick to the metal on the TX22. Okay, back to the mags. Okay, so the mag on the TX22 has more capacity, and that really is the most important thing. But the quality of the mag on the G44 to me is just better. It's thicker plastic. The spring is a lot heavier duty in it than on the TX22. It's just a better mag. And the little load assist on the G44 mag makes it a lot easier to load. Although they're not either one very difficult, but it is a little bit easier on the G44. Okay, on the G44, one thing just, I guess, kind of in general maybe to say about it is that I feel like on the G44 you're going to have more consistency of quality. Just in the feel of it, although the TX22 is very high quality, the polymer is top notch, really. But one thing I'm mentioning specifically here is on the TX22 they had issues, and mine had it on some of the first runs, that the rifling on the barrel had pitting in it. There was chatter marks in the rifling. The rifling wasn't totally concentric in the bore of the barrel. On my G44, I look down it, and down the barrel is just shiny and smooth and bright as it can be. And not to say the TX22 is bad, but I just in general I think you're going to have more consistency of quality in the G44. All right, on the G44, another kind of generic thing is that it's a Glock, and people are going to just have more faith and more confidence in the Glock brand than they are in the Taurus. All right, the G44 is slightly more ambidextrous. It has a slide stop on both sides, where on the TX22 you'll have a slide stop on the left side for righties. Their magazine releases are both on the left-hand side, but they can both be swapped. Okay, another area where the G44 is better is that the G44 is a direct copy of the Glock 19. And so because of that, all of the accessories that are available for the Glock 19 are going to be available for the Glock 44, like holsters and everything that you could think of like that is going to work for the G44 because it's a direct copy. And I don't know for sure, but on my Glock 17, when I took out the factory sights put on these night sights, just putting this sight in that channel, it looks like it's going to fit. So, and I think I remember somebody, one of the Glock people, saying this at some point that any standard Glock sight will work on the G44, and it says it uses the same trigger as the Glock 19, so I assume any Glock 19 aftermarket trigger is going to work in this pistol as well. Okay, the TX22 with an unloaded mag is 17.4 ounces. The Glock 44 with an unloaded mag is 14.8 ounces. Okay, so just kind of comparing them on things that basically are the same for me, that really don't make a difference. Both of them have decent sights. They both have 3-dot white sights. Of course, the Glock has the U shape on the back there. One thing I've talked about before is that on the TX22, when you look straight down it like that, you really can't see much of the white. On the Glock, you can see a little bit of it. And the problem with that is if you're out in daylight or wherever and light is shining down, that white dot is kind of recessed up inside of there. And sometimes, basically, it casts a shadow on the white and it's not very visible. Well, on this one, it's kind of more at a slope and it catches more light. So whenever you're shooting, it doesn't cast a shadow onto the white, and you can see the white dot a little better on the G44. Okay, another area where the G44 is better is that it has the adjustable back straps, and so if you like to have it coming up to fill up more up in this area, or if it's just not wide enough for you, you have the adjustability of putting on different back straps. So on the G44, you can see how far my hand wraps around. Got about that much space. On the TX22, about that much space, so about the same, which on the TX22, it's already pretty big. So on the G44, the grips are already pretty big, but you can even add more to that. Okay, now putting snap caps in the chamber, close it on the TX22. If there was a round in there, you can't tell if there's a round in the chamber with it closed. But on the G44, you can see it has a little inspection port right there where you can see if there's a round in the chamber. And I couldn't video that with my big camera. There's no way to get the light right. You have to have it just right. So videoing that on my phone, but you can see that round in the chamber there. Okay, another area where they're about the same is takedown. They're both very easy to take down, although I think the TX22 has a slight edge because I like the takedown lever on the TX22 better than I do these little wings here on the G44. But on the TX22, you pull the trigger, pull down on the tab, boom. I can have it take down literally less than 5 seconds, and pretty much the same thing on the Glock 44. So of course, always checking the chamber, make sure you're empty. Pull that back, pull back slightly, it's off, and then the barrel is out. And so very similar, really no advantage there, although I do like the takedown lever better on this. Okay, and another area where they're about the same is that they both have adjustable rear sights. And the other cool thing about this is that these two 22s are really the only striker fired 22s on the market. Here's a TX22, you can see the striker right there. And then on the G44, striker is right there. Okay, one area where they're the same is that they're both dry fire safe. Now, it never says in the G44 manual that you can just dry fire over and over again, but it does mention, of course, like any Glock, that you have to pull the trigger before you can take it down. Same thing on the Taurus TX22. You know, it says to pull the trigger before you take the slide off. Both of them have swappable mag releases. Both of them have front serrations. Both of them are made in the United States of America. And another thing that's always important to me whenever I pick a gun, well, I guess it's not always, but one thing that I do consider when I buy a gun is that, is it a popular gun? Because, you know, later down the road you have problems with it and you want to bounce ideas off somebody, like going to internet forums and stuff like that. If you get a gun that's not very popular and that very few people use it or have them, you're going to have a harder time. I mean, just numbers of things. You're going to have a harder time finding people to help you with it. But both of these are very, I mean, the G44 is going to be popular. I know the TX22 already is very popular. Tons of people are going to be using these, and you'll have plenty of places, YouTube videos, internet forums, all that to go to ask questions and to figure stuff out as you have issues with your pistol. Okay, and then mag release. Of course, it is drop free. Holding it to the side, it shoots out about that far. On the TX22, it's drop free. Holding it on its side, it shoots out about that far. They're both awesome pistols. So the TX22 has a better trigger for me, better ergonomics. It's cheaper, comes with threaded barrel, has more mag capacity. The G44, it's a Glock, more consistency of quality. I like the mag a little bit better, although it's less quality. The metal part of the slide is steel. Just have the Glock name behind it. But they're both two really good pistols.